An entitled jerk keeps trying to hit my bike as I'm just trying to cycle to college. And after having dealt with this for several weeks, eventually this guy swerves into a cop car, totaling his car in the process, as well as getting arrested for reckless driving. And I've never been more satisfied to see karma work its magic. Here's what happened. So first, a little bit of backstory. I'm a college student and I cycle to campus every day. It's not a long ride at all, but I have to go through a zone where it's illegal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. So I'm forced to ride on the road itself. Most drivers don't really care and just go around me, since I stay to the edge and I don't make myself a nuisance. I also have one of those awful e-bikes that I commute on, and this will be important later. A few weeks ago, a guy in a Ford SUV started yelling at me as he drove by while I was in the road-only zone. All the usual things I get is just get off the road, or roads are for cars, you're going too slow, stuff like that. I get that from drivers on a weekly basis, and I just ignore them and I keep going. But this man was special though, since he cut right in front of me and slammed on his brakes after yelling at me all these weird and awful things. I was able to stop before I hit him, and when he floored it out of there, he yelled at me, "Better be careful next time, idiot." Now, I was pretty mad, but I did not get his license plate or anything like that, and I doubt anything could be done about it anyways. There was no real proof. Over lunch, I told one of my friends who works as an EMT the story, and he got seriously upset. Apparently, he has seen the results of a car suddenly brake checking a cyclist, and they are not pretty. 2 days later, the same Ford SUV jerk tried to brake check me again. I was expecting it as soon as I heard him yelling for me to get on the sidewalk. So once again, I avoided a crash. I told my EMT friend over lunch again, and he was even madder than before. I wanted to let it go, since I can't really do anything about it, and my bicycle isn't going to win in a crash. This guy keeps trying to brake check me every few days during my morning commute. Whenever we're on the same patch of road, it's the same guy doing this over and over again. About a week ago, my EMT friend told me that he told my story to one of his friends, and this friend belongs to the campus police, who was also equally upset. The two of them wanted to catch this jerk driver in the act. The plan was to have the policeman parked on the side of the road in hopes of catching and pulling over the jerk. I heartily agreed, and the officer pulled some strings and had himself posted on speeder catching duty for that stretch of road. A few days passed uneventfully, with no signs of that road-raging jerk. I saw the cop parked in the same spot on the side of the road every day, a spot where the road has a left turn lane and a straight lane ahead of it. Finally, I'm pedaling along and I can hear a familiar voice, and I knew right then and there that my revenge was going to take place. I heard this jerk say, "Get off the road, you idiot." I yelled back at him and said, "Catch me then," and I took off. I was spinning my scrawny little chicken legs as hard as they could go, and I then pegged the throttle. I guess this made the driver even angrier, because I heard his engine roar as he pursued me. He shifted into the left lane as I stayed in the right. I looked to the side and I saw a nasty old man in the driver's seat, with a passenger window open staring at me. His mouth was going like he was yelling, but I couldn't hear him over the wind noise. I saw the police car spot approaching and I started to slow down. Taking the opportunity, the driver swung right in front of me. I don't know if it was the speed or his anger that made him swing wide, but he cut across my lane and crashed straight into the back of the police car. I barely applied my brakes. I slowed down to maybe about 15 miles an hour, and I crashed into the side of his car. The officer got out of the car, and to say he was spitting mad would be an understatement. The officer then called an ambulance and another police car. Everyone was unhurt, since the jerk was only going about 25 miles an hour, but there was enough of an impact to trigger the SUV's airbags. The jerk ended up getting arrested for driving under the influence at 9 o'clock in the morning of all times, as well as for an illegal lane change, and probably some other stuff too. I don't know all the details, but I imagine that causing a crash like that would entail some additional charges that he is going to have to deal with for a long time. The guy also ended up having to pay for extensive repairs on the police cruiser and for a new e-bike to replace the one he destroyed by cutting in front of me and snapping the frame on my bike. On top of that, I hear that his car was defined as totaled by his insurance company since the airbags went off, so he also has to pay for a new car. With any luck, he'll lose his license for driving under the influence and will hopefully not be a menace to cyclists ever again. That guy the original poster was dealing with is an absolute jerk. They were seriously trying to brake check this guy on the road, literally a busy road, just to try and get where they're going. Someone could have seriously gotten hurt because of that guy's negligence. That is not okay. So it's honestly really good to see that justice came their way and they finally got caught red-handed for the weird stuff they were doing, because brake checking a cyclist on the road is never the answer, and if anything, he could have easily just gone around him and gone on his day. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Am I the jerk for refusing to help cook for over 20 people at an event after my wife canceled my catering order? Here's what happened. This weekend, my wife and I are hosting a retirement party for my mom, and we are expecting about 20 people. We are splitting the cost of food and beverages with my brother and his wife. During the planning process, I told everyone that I wanted to get the event catered so that no one would have to spend a bunch of time in the kitchen cooking for 20 people. Everyone agreed that this was a good idea, and I told them that I would take care of it. I placed the catering order last weekend. My wife and sister-in-law have been handling the logistics, and when I told them the cost of the catering, which was about $300, my sister-in-law made a comment about that being way too high. I told her it comes to about $15 per person, which is basically getting everyone fed for the price of a fast food combo meal, but with much better food. My sister-in-law said that we could save a lot of money if we just cooked ourselves instead. The reason cost is an issue for my sister-in-law is that they just welcomed their second child 2 months ago, and I guess they are feeling a bit pinched financially. I explained to the sister-in-law again my reasoning behind wanting it catered, because I don't want anyone to be burdened with cooking for a large group, and that I will gladly pay a bit more than our fair share if that makes her feel better. That seemed to eventually ease her mind. Unbeknownst to me though, my sister-in-law and my wife continued talking about it, and my sister-in-law had taken it upon herself to plan an entire meal that we would cook ourselves for half the price of the catering order. They did this also without discussing anything with me. They decided to cancel the catering order and just cook ourselves. My wife just told me this last night, and when my wife told me their plan, I asked them who would be doing the cooking, and she said me and her, because my sister-in-law and brother would probably be watching their kids. So I told her that since she and my sister-in-law made this decision on their own, I am not going to help with the cooking at all. I said I would gladly watch the kids while my wife and sister-in-law cook the entire meal for everybody else. She then told me that I am being a jerk and that I hate women if I think I can just refuse to help and make all these women do all the cooking. I told her that the two of them are the ones that went behind my back and canceled the catering order, so they should be the ones to figure out this new plan. And no, I'm not helping. She said that my sister-in-law was concerned about the cost and that my sister-in-law confessed that she was worried about money. I told her that's exactly why I offered to pay more, but apparently that wasn't enough, and that my sister-in-law and my wife just needed to be in control of this for some reason. She told me I need to be more understanding of my brother and sister-in-law's financial situation, and that cooking isn't that big of a deal, especially when we can all save some money. I told her that since it's not a big deal, the two of them should have no problem spending as much time as it takes to cook something for everybody, and I will entertain the rest of the guests. But once again, she told me that I'm being unreasonable for not helping. So honestly, I need some help here. Am I the jerk for refusing to cook after my wife canceled my catering order? No, you are not the jerk in this situation. Why on earth would they cancel that without talking to you first? All they needed to do was communicate what's going on. If the sister-in-law seriously was like, okay, I can't afford this. Even if you pay for more of this, I just can't justify the cost. Even that simple sentence would have at least had some kind of conversation going. And that could have led to maybe a compromise or something. But to make this choice behind the original poster's back, who was literally just looking out for everybody's best interests, and also who didn't want to cook in the first place, in my opinion, makes the wife and the sister-in-law complete jerks. And now, as icing on the cake, they're trying to make this guy cook for everybody else? Like, what are you talking about? He made his case very clear. He did not want to cook for all these people. It would be easier to have some kind of catering service of some kind just to take that kind of stress off of everybody else's back. But no, the wife and the sister-in-law just wanted to make that happen. And not only that, they wanted to make this guy do it. And I honestly can't stand the fact that the wife is seriously making accusations that he just hates women and he wants all the women to do the cooking. Like, no, that is not what's going on here. If you're gonna make that kind of decision without consulting the person that made the order in the first place, then you can live with that decision and cook for everyone else yourself. Like, the sister-in-law is suddenly like, no, I can't pay for that, but have fun cooking, I'll be taking care of my kid. Like, that doesn't seem fair in the slightest. In my opinion, the plan you had to have this catering service of some kind would have been fine. It would have solved everybody's problems, and this really would have been an easy thing to organize. organize. And the fact that you got upset because your wife and sister-in-law canceled this catering service behind your back without talking to you about it first at least does not make you the jerk, but rather makes them the jerk. My girlfriend thinks it's funny to try and mess with my diet and intentionally try to derail my health journey. And at this point, I'm seriously upset and I don't know what to do. I have been working on losing weight for about 2 months now, and I have made a huge stride. If I hit the goal for the day, I'd sometimes reward myself with something that I might be craving, like a mini piece of candy bar or a banana or something like that. My girlfriend, who didn't believe I was going to stick to the diet or even succeed in the slightest, was laughing at me when I first told her about it. As soon as I started, she would do things like bake cookies when I got home or wait until I'm home to DoorDash something from a restaurant that she knows I really like, but it's one that I can't eat anything from because it doesn't fit with my diet. I was highly irritated by this. The last few weeks, she has been starting to do things like ask me for a bite of something I reward myself with, and then suddenly take a huge chunk out of it and toss back a tiny piece and say, "Sorry, I just gotta help you out." Or she would just straight up outright steal it. Yesterday, I decided to give myself a nice reward because I have been doing so well. So I bought myself a cookie from my favorite coffee shop. I got home, I set it down on the counter for later, and a few hours later when I went to get it, I found only one tiny piece of it remaining. And at this point, I was so seriously angry. I went to my girlfriend and I asked what in the world she was doing. She was laughing like crazy and said that I shouldn't have left it out just to tempt her with it. This was very upsetting to me. I tried to tell her I really don't think this is funny. She then went on to play dumb and try to joke around with me. This eventually led into a screaming match with her telling me I'm a grown man crying over a cookie and stormed away. I am still so furious over this. I don't understand why on earth she's doing this. I don't think it's funny or cute or anything like that. I feel so disrespected. Every time I try to bring this up, she would act like I'm being extremely unreasonable and childish. I feel like I have been wounded, and she is just picking at the scab just to try and get me worked up. This isn't like her at all. She has never been this way to me before, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Your girlfriend is a bully. Like, straight up, that's exactly what's happening here. She's mean, she's condescending, and she's making your life a living nightmare, even though you're trying to improve your weight and improve your health. And that is unbelievably toxic. And by the way, she's not just messing with your diet, she's messing with you. This is not an okay thing to do. And if anything, it's frankly immature. And you want to know why she's getting upset every time you bring this up? It's because she knows she's in the wrong. She knows that what she's doing is wrong and that she shouldn't be doing that. She's intentionally trying to sabotage your diet, all while trying to play this off as some kind of cute game. So in my opinion, I think you need to set a very clear boundary. You need to tell her exactly how you feel, maybe when there's a quiet moment when she isn't so upset about it, even though she has no right to be upset about it. She's the one causing problems. Then you can just explain to her, hey, this is really important to me and I'm trying to lose weight. Please stop treating me like garbage. Please stop bullying me, or something like that. And hopefully setting some clear boundaries will hopefully help her stop treating you like garbage, because your girlfriend is trying to undermine your health journey. And that, in my opinion, is incredibly unfair, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. My girlfriend does not care about my compliments anymore and seeks validation from other guys that she meets. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So I moved to a new state across the country from my girlfriend a few months ago, and we started to have an open relationship. We tell each other everything, and today she told me that she loves my compliments, but she does not know if she can believe them because no other guy she meets and gets to know tells her the same thing or treats her how I treat her. She says she wants to believe the things I say, but she does not know if they are true, or if I'm just saying them to boost her ego and hype her up, or if I'm just saying it out of desperation of losing her because she knows I hate sleeping with other girls and I do not want to be with anyone else but her. She tries really hard to not even want anyone else either, and we tried to do an exclusive long-distance relationship, but for many reasons it didn't work out, mostly the physical, if you know what I mean. So we have been doing what I thought was a successful open relationship until today. She loves me and I love her too, but I do not know what I can do about the fact that she seeks validation from new guys that she meets, and that none of these guys see her in the way that I see her. It's ruining her self-image of herself, and nothing I say can fix it. She means the world to me, and I do not care about her talking to other guys or spending quality time with them, if you know what I mean. What is bothering me is that she hates her life. She doesn't want people to tell her what to do do, and she does not want to go to school, and she pretty much just hates everything besides spending quality time with people, and she cannot even do that because she cannot find anyone who treats her like I do. She wants me and no one else, and she cannot have me, and the guy she meets, she doesn't want to just hook up with randomly. She wants to know them, so she knows they will not do anything crazy to her, as the first guy she tried to randomly hook up with treated her extremely poorly and did things to her that she did not want, and now she just does not trust random hookups. The guys that she is meeting with, though, are not making her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world, even though she is just that. It makes her feel like I'm lying about how the world sees her as this beautiful person, and I have no idea what to even say or do. I am really worried about her, and I want to be able to do something, but her parents basically control her entire life, and she doesn't even have a job because her parents control her bank account, and they take all of her money anyways. She is just really upset with her life and knows that in a year it will change, and we can be together finally, but she is really having a difficult time staying positive, and she really just wants someone to treat her right. What should I do? This does not sound like a healthy relationship. First off, the two people that are being described in this story are very young. We're talking like they're barely adults. So the fact that this is the conversation that's happening about having an open relationship is honestly insane to me. I personally think that open relationships are just cheating with extra steps. It's just a way for the other person to sleep around and not feel any guilt. And that, in my opinion, is incredibly toxic, and it is not cohesive to a successful relationship. That's just my opinion though. Maybe you have a different one. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But I think open relationships are incredibly dumb, and they almost always result in someone getting upset because the other party is spending quality time with people and the other person doesn't like it. Also, this woman that you're talking about, who is clearly like the most beautiful person on planet Earth, she is literally acting like this for attention. Like, this is all attention-seeking behavior. Like, there are red flags all over this story. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, we have a long-distance relationship, but instead this is some kind of pseudo-relationship that you guys have, where you basically compliment her and she doesn't believe you. Oh, and by the way, she's sleeping around with other guys. Personally, I think both people in this story are incredibly immature, and they both have a lot of growing up to do if they ever want to have a successful relationship in the future. Because in my opinion, this one absolutely does not seem healthy. Am I the jerk for silencing my girlfriend after she made some very inappropriate remarks about a friend who just survived cancer? Here's what happened. So I've been dating my girlfriend by the name of Jane for about 2 months now. Jane is not her real name. We met on a blind date that our friend set up on us and have been seeing each other relatively regularly since then. I'm not entirely sure if we are officially boyfriend and girlfriend, but Jane seems to think so. Jane describes herself as a bit of a mean girl. I honestly thought she was joking for a while, as she is typically quite nice. However, she has an awful tendency to insult people based primarily on their appearances. These insults can happen anywhere and anytime, and can be targeted at literally anyone. Of course, she never says those things about the person right in front of them. The other day, I invited Jane to a family friend's event that we were having. My mother's friend Jennifer, that's also not her real name, had just gotten out of the hospital for cancer. Jennifer's family and my family are very close. I've known them since I was born, and I consider them to be extended family. Due to cancer and chemotherapy, Jennifer no longer has hair and is very thin. But once Jane saw her, she started smirking. I literally pleaded with her not to say anything rude, and she agreed, but told me that I was ruining her fun. Fast forward, and I'm chatting with my mother and my sister. Jane walks by and says hello. She chats for a bit before starting to make severely highly offensive jokes about Jennifer and her appearance. I will not repeat any of them, but her jokes mainly pertain to baldness and anorexia. My mother and sister looked mortified, and so was I. I literally had my jaw hanging open for a good few seconds. Once I snapped out of it, I firmly told Jane to stop, and that no one found her awful sense of humor funny except for herself. She then got upset and said that I was being controlling and misogynistic for trying to silence her. I maintained my position and reaffirmed that her comments were insane. She got even more upset and asked that we leave. I said it would be rude for me to go, as it was still relatively early, and she ended up leaving on her own. So honestly, I need to know, am I the jerk for silencing my girlfriend after she made some incredibly offensive jokes about my cancer-ridden friend? Dude, your girlfriend is not a mean girl. She is just an awful person. Who in their right mind would bully a cancer survivor? Like, seriously, that is not a good person. Like, she had to know what this event was for, right? Like she knew she was going to an event where they were basically saying, hey, we're glad you're alive, Jennifer. And honestly, making comments about people's physical appearances is honestly so rude. Like even in private. And it seems like she goes out of her way to try and nitpick and say things about people just to try and put them down. Like that's not a mean girl like you would see from like a movie or something like that. That's a straight up horrible person who will get nowhere in life. It's also really indicative that she's showing these kind of traits 2 months into the relationship. Like that's not very long and you're already seeing this crazy red flag. And it's also funny that the second she is put in her place, which is exactly what happened, she tries to claim that you're being controlling and misogynistic. And that is insane to me. That is not what happened. What happened is you made fun of a cancer survivor and you seriously thought that everybody else would go along with it and be like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy or something? So if anything to the original poster, I would say beware of this person. They do not seem like a good person, and this might be just the tip of the iceberg. And seriously, you can do a lot better than an adult claiming that they're some kind of mean girl, when in reality, they are honestly just a horrible person. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.